What if the pain you carry isn't just a memory in your mind, but something living in your body, shaping the way you see yourself, and even how long you live? Today, Dr. Bessel van der Kolk, one of the world's most respected trauma experts, explains why trauma never truly leaves us, and what you can do to begin healing. If you've ever felt unseen, unheard, or stuck in the past, this conversation could change the way you understand yourself forever.
Psychiatry, the way we created the PTSD diagnosis was about memory and about a mental event and about a particular event. What the A study showed is the pervasive impact of adverse childhood experiences on people's behaviors, increased smoking, increased stuffing yourself with food, increased drug addiction, increased alcoholism, increase in a whole variety of medical illnesses. And what the A study showed was something that many of us already suspected for a long time, but it's really very, very good, profound confirmation of it, that trauma really affects the whole human organism. And this is not something that Felitti says about it, but when I read this data, what I read is that people develop a very adverse relationship with their bodies. Mm-hmm. And if your body hasn't been respected, loved, cherished when you grow up, and people do things to you, and you see people do things to each other's bodies, you get to despise your body or feel uncomfortable in your body, and you do things to try to blunt your feelings about your body, or to stuff food into it, or to starve yourself, or to do something to change your relationship to your body. And so the way I read the A study most of all is you develop a very, if you have seen all these terrible things and you have experienced it, you develop an adverse relationship to yourself and your own internal world. The whole issue of how your life circumstances really profoundly affect who you become. For example, there's the article in the Washington Post a few weeks ago that showed that the life expectancy now in Chevy Chase, which is a very nice suburb of Washington, D.C., where I actually have some friends, average life expectancy is 92 years old.
Wow.
The average life expectancy in a neighborhood about 6 miles away, that is largely poor and minority, is something like 63 years old.
Wow.
And so you have these huge health disparities, and it really brings home the core issue that if you live in a society with sharp inequality, with sharp decreased opportunities for people, you pay for it in so many different ways.
Wow.
Like, give you an example again. There's a very interesting, fascinating, disturbing difference there between the US and Europe. Like in Europe, people read these data and they said, okay, poverty leads to illnesses and dysfunction and drug addiction, etc., etc. So let's create a society where there is no poverty. Mm-hmm. And by and large, European countries have succeeded at that. That's where, like, I recently came back from, I taught in Portugal, and Portugal is a poor country, but there are no more poor people in Portugal. So everybody, I'd say there's sort of a minimum plateau below which people are not allowed to disappear. And so the schools are better, they're more humane, across the board, not only for rich people, also for poor people. And so in the Netherlands, where I grew up, for example, people also took these issues very seriously. They're very much into social justice and stuff like that. And now the incarceration rate in the Netherlands is 68 per 100,000 people. The incarceration rate in the US is over 900 per 100,000 people. So as a society, we pay a huge price for tolerating a lot of violence against children, a lot of insecurity for children, a lot of violence in the street, violence in the home, etc., etc.
Sometimes we think healing is only about what happens inside of us. But what Dr. Bessel is showing here is that the world we live in shapes us just as much. The safety of our communities, the care we give our children, the compassion we show one another. These aren't extras. They are the foundation for a life where healing is even possible. You deserve to live in a world that protects you, and we can all play a part in creating it.
The other thing, for example, is that in all civilized countries, including Norway, Ireland, Canada, Singapore, Korea, Japan, Finland, France, every country has maternal and paternal benefits that if you have a baby, you get paid to stay home for a certain length of time to take care of that baby. And then these societies make early childcare readily available, high quality childcare for everybody. We don't have that in the US, and as a consequence, our children do much worse. So not if you're well off, not like a person like me, whose kids go to great schools, and they do very well. And so what's being, somewhat surprisingly, the whole study of trauma has resulted in us really getting to understand the social conditions and how social conditions really have a profound impact on people's health and on people's well-being. And that's not where we started off. And we very much started off as what happens in the brain, what happens in the mind, what happens in mind development. We learned a lot about it, but then over time, we learned more and more about it. That this gets expressed itself in politics and in the way we live together. Well, indeed, it was, the story I started the book with is a real story, and a story that really, we all have experiences like that from time to time, where you go like, oh, wow, and then you never see the world the same way again. I hope you still have experiences like that yourself.
Oh, yeah.
And so, I'm a medical doctor. I get trained a very good training in psychiatry, and we learn to look at patients. We're involved in the research diagnostic criteria, which is the preamble to the DSM. Then I'm involved in the DSM. And so we're very serious about making psychiatry into a science. And we're beginning to think about pathways. We're thinking about neuronal tracks. We're thinking about biology. And this guy comes to my office on the day after the 4th of July, and he's disheveled and hungover, and he spent the night in his office. He's not gone home. And he then opens up to me and says how he has become a monster, how he cannot control himself. He becomes uncontrollably angry, and the 4th of July is a particularly tough holiday for him because the firecrackers and the lights and the trees trigger memories of Vietnam, and he knew before the 4th of July that he wasn't fit for human consumption, and he stayed at home. And so, like all of us, we can only hear what registers in our minds. So people tell us stuff all the time, and most of it we just block out or don't know what it means. But he tells me about his nightmares. I happen to have done some studies on nightmares. I happen to be interested in nightmares. And so he says, I cannot sleep because I have these terrible nightmares. And I say, here's some pills, and these pills will guarantee that your nightmares will go away. And as a doctor, you like to find the solutions, and you like to say to the patient, take this and you'll be fine. We are social people, and the core of our meaning in life, the core of our orientation in life is our love and our friendships and our connections with other people, which trump everything else.
Yeah.
And that, of course, is a dimension that systematically gets left out of medicine in particular. Actually, it's become much worse. Every time I go to my doctor in Boston, I feel like I'm just a piece of machinery.
Yeah.
Nobody touches me, nobody looks at me.
Yeah.
People call me Bessel, and I say, actually, most people call me Dr. Van der Kolk, and I'd like you to, since you don't know me, like have a little bit of sort of distance here, and not have you patronize me. And I feel like I'm just a chicken in a Purdue chicken plant when I go to doctors. Not every doctor I know, but so people don't see you, and people don't know you, and people are not interested in you. And then it's interesting. I have a place in a very rural part of Vermont, and I'm very friendly with the health center, and I prefer to get my medical care there because people know me and have known me over time, and they know their name, and they know my name, and they know who we have seen each other over time, and there's a deep personal connection where we go beyond organ systems into looking at the whole entirety of people's lives.
If today's message touched you, please know your pain is valid, your healing is real, and your story matters. You are not broken, you are becoming. And no matter how long it takes, you are worth the journey. If you're ready to keep walking this path together, subscribe and join our healing community here on Your Inner Child Matters. Before you go, type "I am healing" in the comments, not just for you, but as a reminder to anyone scrolling that they are not alone. You are seen, you are valued, and you are loved. And before you go, comment, "I am healing" to affirm your growth. You are seen, you are valued, and you are not alone.